Unless your husband's making 6 to 7 figures, I don't think you should even consider being a stay-at-home wife. And here's why. I recently made a post about being a stay-at-home wife is one of the most treacherous and dangerous positions a woman can put herself into. And I got some comments like, well, isn't the estate 50-50 in Texas? Isn't it all marital property? Let me show you. I think we can all agree on this. That husband is working his job, doing the career ladder, going up, 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 because he has a wife at home that's able to care for the children. He doesn't have to take sick days. He doesn't have to call in from work. He can really focus on his career. Wife kind of stagnates. She's doing the at-home stuff. And there's a lot of value to that. And it's surprising to me how many men don't understand the domestic value of labor. The fact that you don't have to stay home when a child's sick. The wife's running all the errands. A lot of times the wife is contributing to that husband's business. And so you're like, well, aren't wives safe because, especially in Texas, everything's community property? Well, this is why I say, unless your husband is a fucking stud and making good money, I wouldn't even consider it. So let me show you the numbers and the breakdown. Let's say your husband is just an average Joe. He has every tool in his arsenal to be making more, doing more, and all of that. But let's just say he just ain't that dude. He, is making $70,000 and retires making $80,000 or $85,000. I'm sorry, if you have a stay-at-home wife, your job is to excel in business and be making more, and that would be complete letdown to me if I was a stay-at-home wife and my dude just ended up being average. And that is what I face a lot in divorce court. Our average Joe goes and gets him an average affair, and we've got kids that are 15, 16 years old. So let me show you how this really affects the stay-at-home wife. Let's say he has $80,000 saved in his 401k, and let's say.
All right, so hold on. Before we get further into this, let me level set. This is all operating under the assumption that they're not going to be together, and that's not the vows that's being taken in marriage. That's A. B, a lot of people don't come to the agreement before they ever get married. And I see this a lot in the Jewish community in that they set prenuptial agreements of what's going to happen in the event that they do get divorced. C, I think this woman is a divorce attorney, if I'm not mistaken, or at least she's a lawyer, and I'm going to link back to her in the profile. But C, the other part of it is that just because you are a stay-at-home mother or wife don't mean that you're not supposed to continue to grow and be productive, especially once the kids decide that they want to go to school or you start putting your kids in school full time. You're still supposed to be productive. So what are you doing? Yes, I agree that men are supposed to make sure that their wives are good and taken care of. And more importantly, you should also make sure that in the event that anything happens, that they would be good, at least for a period of time, so that they'll be able to bridge and then ultimately be able to run on their own in the event that anything happens to you. Yes, you're supposed to give her, show her how to think differently, build a skill set. And it's just funny to me how people say, well, in the event, stay-at-home wives or whatever, they just are left out. That means y'all not growing together. You're not growing together if you don't have any skills whatsoever. So are you telling me that you just basically you just dusty? Like you have no understanding of money. You have no understanding of skills. You're not being anywhere productive once your kids start to grow older or your kids go to school full time or any of that type of stuff. What are you doing? Like you drinking wine all day. You watching soap operas now. You back to doing bad stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to put a level of responsibility also on the person that chose not to be productive, because just because you're a stay-at-home wife does not mean that you can't add value. If you're telling me that your only value is policing around 2 children and that's it, because I would also add in that I believe that most men participate in their children's lives also. And so she's saying that it's not, unless your husband is a stud and he's whatever, so on and so forth. That's because they're trying to segment and monetize the value of the work that she's doing. And that's when you start to get into a situation where you're saying, well, this is what you would be paying a nanny, or this is what you should be paying her a year, and all of this other type of stuff. No, listen, you are better together than you are apart. And it all goes into one pot when you are together. It all goes into one pot. Now, if you want to make the play and say, well, skill set, you know what I'm saying? After it's all done, even after you split up the assets, that, then she got to figure it out. She got to go to school. Man, you should have been being productive the whole time that you was there. Anyway, again, just because you're a stay-at-home wife does not mean that you can't start to acquire skill sets. And as a matter of fact, the skill sets that you acquire could be used towards the family business or building each other up or whatever, so on and so forth. But there is no segmenting of people. You are one. And so when you work together, he may go and bring in the finances and she may do this and do that or whatever. And then he got these other responsibilities or whatever. But it all goes into one pot. Let me let her cook because she might give us some different insight.
Say there's $100,000 in the house. Usually my average Joes, they don't have any other equity or houses and stuff like that because they are average Joes. So the wife will end
A
up.
lot of this is intentional. So it's the way that you spend your money. It's the way that y'all manage your money. A lot of people increase their lifestyle to reflect whatever their earnings are. And so that also plays a huge role in how people move.
Let's say half of this, so she'll get 40 here and 50 here. That's $90,000, and that may sound like a lot of money, but then she has to get a new house, and now she's entering the workforce with probably 15, 16-year-olds at home, and she's making.
You telling me you wasn't able to develop no skill set since they was 15, 16 in 15, 16 years?
$15 an hour. That 90K doesn't last very long. However, husband, he is still here at his career ladder. Even being an average Joe, he is still starting with skills, a resume, all of those things that he's not starting at the bottom. So he may get half of the divorce assets, but he gets to remain at the top of the ladder. So Texas, being an anti-spousal support state, can be really dangerous for women who are married to average Joes. Now, this equation changes drastically when your husband actually used your domestic labor to do more in life. Let's say he's making 6 figures, 7 figures. Let's say he's got $1 million in child support when he decides to go and have an affair. Let's say you've got multiple properties when he decided to go get an affair. You are going to walk away safe, but if you married an average Joe, sorry about you. Shouldn't have done it. You should strongly consider your value of being a stay-at-home wife and what value your husband brings, because never.
So basically they saying that because you a stay-at-home wife, he should be able to go and make $1 million a year. This is crazy, bro. This is insane. This is in my opinion, because and I get it, right? She's a lawyer, so as usual, her perspective is going to be completely different because what she sees all day, every day between divorcing and stuff like that. I think that this is an assault on family, in my opinion. Absolutely an assault on family. But there's better ways to protect yourself. And it doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be productive. You just have to become a better person and you have to be growing with the person that you're with. And again, this is also operating under the assumption that y'all gonna break up, which yes, you should still be prepared for all situations, but it doesn't mean that you have to be dusty, as a result of it. I didn't even know that Texas was a non-spousal support state. You know what I'm saying? Even with regard to spousal support, my views are a lot different because it's one thing to make sure that you take care of any event, you know what I'm saying, that we break up. It's another thing for you to be using my money in order to house another dude. But that's a whole nother conversation. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. T. Janley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. And I always, again, like to link back to the content creator. It's the right thing to do. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.